Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Okay, it's after 6, so this time I'll call to order the public hearing for Bylaw 2017-28. The purpose of the bylaw is to restrict locations where political campaign signs may be placed. Public hearing will proceed as follows. First, administration will provide an overview of the matter. Council will then have an opportunity to ask questions of administration. After council questions, I'll invite members of the public to speak. And once everybody who would like to has spoken, then we'll look to the municipal clerk to read into the record the names of anyone who's provided written submissions. And before we adjourn, administration will be given an opportunity to provide closing comments if they feel so inclined. And after the meeting adjourns, the municipal clerk will publish a record of public submissions that include all written submissions received regarding this matter, regardless of whether the author is present here or not. And with that, I will move on to the administrative briefing. And that will be the municipal clerk, Ms. Hyde.
Thank you, Mayor Borman and Council. This is a first with the municipal clerk presenting at the public hearing in my tenure, at any rate. So we're here this evening to have a public hearing for Bylaw 2017-28, which is about amending the land use bylaw to restrict the location on public property where campaign signs can be located. So the bylaw, let's see if this works. The bylaw right now is proposing that we limit the locations where election signs can be placed to 5 locations in town. They're all main intersections in town. So we've got, I actually had this as Railway and Bow Valley Trail, but I found out today on Google it's actually 17th Street and Bow Valley Trail, so I'll propose that amendment at second reading. Benchlands Trail and Bow Valley Trail, Elk Run Boulevard and Highway 1A, Three Sisters Boulevard and Three Sisters Parkway, which is down here, and then Three Sisters Drive and Three Sisters Parkway on the way up to the Nordic Center. So currently, campaign signs are permitted on public property unrestricted in location, but with a few restrictions in the land use bylaw. So particular to campaign signs, there's a size restriction, there's sort of a general restriction around safety and public use of the land, the color, and then a time which they must be removed by. There's also some general restrictions in the land use bylaw that pertain to all signs, including campaign signs, and they're mostly around safety and around aesthetics. So I just have those up there for you to see. That's an abridged version. So the reason we are coming forward with the bylaw to possibly change locations is due to a council motion that asked administration to look at prohibiting or limiting the placement of campaign signs on public property. At the time of debate at first reading, some of the concerns we heard in general were around the way signs look, the number of them. They look, to some people, cluttered. There is a concern that there is an expense, perhaps prohibitive, that is passed on to candidates' campaigns. And then there's another concern that the materials simply end up in the landfill, and perhaps that could be avoided. On the other hand, we heard some debate around the signs adding to the name recognition for candidates. It's a good way to get your name out there when you're running. It's a short period of time. And just to provide general awareness for the public that there's an election coming up. So when administration looked at these, there's really, I mean, there's every point is valid, I think, personally. We didn't go down the road of prohibiting signs. We thought that we could probably satisfy the majority of people just by limiting signs. So it would mean less signs were produced and put out, so that would eliminate some of the concerns around aesthetics, cost, and waste, and then it would still provide the name recognition and general awareness that people are looking for that like the signs. So I thought I'd use some modern technology and just look at the locations on Google.
No.
just because I can.
Very exciting.
Yeah. If it works. Yeah, so that's, I mean, of course, we've all been there many times, but that's Railway Avenue and Bow Valley Trail. So this is kind of the popular spot here as you're sitting at the stop sign, but there's public property all around.
17th Street.
And it's the public property is mainly the boulevards, right? Where you see the signs. And then there's Benchlands Trail and Bow Valley Trail. Again, you can see the boulevards as you go around. It would be this kind of area, this kind of area, the boulevards. That's the 1A and Elk Run Boulevard. T intersection. I know, is this great or what? I feel like, you know, since it's a planning bylaw.
Yeah, right. It's very exciting, really.
Up at the Parkway. And you know, these are, of course, as you probably know, these are areas where we see a lot of signs already. These are already sites that are pretty popular for placement of campaign signs. Just because if you're coming in to town or going out of town, you have to go one of these ways. And then this is the last one, which I don't know why it showed me the world on this, but I liked it, because watch this. I know, cool, right? And this has got some big spots for signs. This spot actually, let me work it. It has a sign in it. That's an NDP campaign sign right there. So, cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's another popular spot for the signs. The only other thing I had to talk about was maybe what some of the options are. There's limiting locations such as we're suggesting. Of course, you can make no changes and leave it as it is. You could go down the road of prohibiting signs on public property altogether. There's no recommendation or anything that I've heard about prohibiting them on private property, so that practice would continue. Or you could look at limiting them in some other way. And I think that is the end of my presentation. I'll attempt to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Look to council to see if there's questions. Councillor McCallum.
I just had one question. Thank you for your entertaining presentation. I appreciate it totally. I had one question with regards to the way that the bylaw is being proposed, and it was with regards to the amendment that Councillor Krausert made. Signs are permitted only within 50 meters of each of the 4 corners of the following intersections, and then it lists the 5 intersections. I know that you're going to make that amendment. So does that mean that, just the way that's worded, that you could have like a sign on each corner, so effectively as long as they're 50 meters apart? That's what I interpreted it to be. I just wanted to confirm.
I mean, I would turn to Councillor Krausert for that explanation, but the way I interpreted it was if some of those intersections are quite large,
Yep.
if they're more than 50 meters apart, then you can have more than one sign.
Yep, I just
Am I
wanted
right?
to make sure that that's how I understood it.
Councillor Krausert.
No, it just means that you can, the signs are allowed within 50 meters of the corner.
Oh, of the corners,
many
right,
as
I
you
see,
want.
yeah.
I don't see it as any limit or within, where it runs into a problem is I just replaced the word at with within 50 meters. Looking at that, many of them were T intersections, and so we maybe just have to get rid of the, within 50 meters of the following intersections.
Right, because sometimes there's no corners.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so that might be something you want to, but it's
Yeah,
not, it has
yeah.
nothing to do with the signs distance from each other.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, thanks very much for your presentation. At this time, I'll invite members of the public to speak to the item. If you just take the mic and Josh, come on up and, yeah, don't forget, this is, yeah, so this is, just hold on a second, Josh. So this is being web streamed, live streamed, so for those watching at home, if you speak clearly into the mic, and also you know there's a clock there, there's a 5-minute.
Okay, starting when?
Starting as soon as you start talking.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Josh Halpern. I own, or am retired from, but still own and operate CanSign here in lovely Canmore, Alberta. I've been a resident in the valley for nigh on 40 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. I'm not negative about this bylaw, I'm just negative about the way it was presented and with what for information. If you go back to the second page you showed us of the cost comparison, whose cost? The proponent's cost. Why does that affect the town of Canmore? I don't understand. The other issue is, in another article I saw, it was quoted that this was a waste and these were going into the landfill. Who got that information to you folks? I run a sign shop here. I know what's going on with respect to that. I went to the town of Canmore. The town of Canmore, I went and I asked them if we could put coroplast, which is what these signs are made of, in recycling. I got a yes, no problem, number one. Number two, if you've driven by our shop, we have a green bin out the door. That green bin is for all recyclables, including coroplast signs. So there's an error there. The other issue is, I spoke with some people in Streets and Roads, and I said, are you aware of this? They weren't at the time. But what I'd like to know is at these intersections, who decided where they were going to go? Susan Berry in her article? Because they're not correct. They're not correct. If you want to add cluster to cluster, you've already got real estate signs that can go anywhere. And these corners are where they use them. Haven't you seen them? Right at Benchlands Trail and Bow Valley Trail. What have you got going there? You want to add to that confusion. That doesn't cut it. And what about all the other events that go on in town and aren't allowed to put up signs? But yet, for elections, can this be superseded by any provincial or any federal laws? Does anybody have that information at this point in time? No.
Provincial and federal laws always supersede municipal.
I'm sorry?
Provincial and federal legislation always supersedes municipal.
It does supersede. Federal and provincial law supersedes municipal law. Why are you wasting your time on it when you've got to deal with all these other matters? Why are you dealing with this? If somebody like me can come in and tell you, or you can't do that, and you know I'm right, then why are we going ahead with this? I don't understand the logic behind it. And a classic example is if you do say this, I know what reading height you need to have for the speed people will be going. This is not a good thing. Definitely not a good thing. I got some other notes, but I don't think I have to go any farther. I don't think at this point in time you can carry forward with this bylaw because the work has not been done. Did anybody talk to Streets and Roads and see where, is this possible? Are these good spots? Maybe they would have told you. No, they're not. You're putting a sign in a place where people can't read them is what's going to happen. Oh yeah, the corner's a good spot. For the first car in line it is. For the second, third, and fourth cars, they're looking at the road. They're not really looking at the signs. I don't understand where this is going. Bylaw enforcement, okay, that's almost an oxymoron. I've been before council in the 40 years I've been here at least 30 times wondering why we have no bylaw enforcement for anything other than dog poo. The town at this point in time is doing nothing about the illegal signs that are already there. When I broached the town about it, actually it was Ron Casey that told me because we can't support it. Our streets and roads cannot be patrolled our bylaws that we have that are existing right now with respect to signs are not enforced. They're not enforced because the development department in the town of Canmore does not get along with the bylaw department. You show me where the town has really taken somebody to task for their signs being too big or too large. I can show you copies of the letters that I presented to the town with respect to bylaw infractions that were never, ever dealt with. Go take a look at Valley Home. You tell me that fits with? No. So we have no enforcement. Why are we adding to a bylaw which we're not enforcing as it is? I got 28 seconds left. Okay? Superseded by the federal law. That's all I have to say. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. You betcha. I'm going to mark that down as opposed. Are there others that'd like to speak at this time?
Hello, everybody. My name is Pam Hilstead, and I'm speaking against this bylaw. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this issue. Candidate signs on public property, particularly in municipal elections, are an excellent way for first-time candidates to get name recognition within our community. In a municipal election, people are not voting for a party, but for a person. Name recognition is critical to the process. Additionally, candidate signs on public property are a consistent reminder to the voting public that there is a municipal election occurring and who the candidates are. For those of us who live and breathe politics, we know when there's a municipal election. Either we're running in it or we're participating in some way, shape, or form. But not everyone knows that that's happening. By limiting the number of locations where signs can be placed on public property, you are limiting the ability of people who have never run before in an election to get their name out in the community in a cost-effective way. New candidates may not have the same resources available to them as incumbents or those who have previously ran elections and have established name recognition. When I ran the first time in a by-election, I didn't use anyone else's money, I used my own. And so if that's the kind of thing that people are looking at, they have to look at the costs and what's most effective. Signs on public property that serve as a continuous reminder of who is running while fostering name recognition for new candidates may be an affordable option for them, especially if they're funding their own campaigns. As municipal elections are held once every 4 years, the signs on public property are only up for approximately 4 weeks, if you count from the day of nomination to the day of the election. To ensure a fair political process for all candidates, I think this is acceptable. In closing, signs on public property provide an excellent way for new candidates to get name recognition while reminding voters that there's an election occurring within their community. It is also an effective way of informing the voting public who the candidates are. As incumbents historically have an advantage over any new candidate in a municipal election, I encourage Mayor and Council to not support this amendment to the land use bylaw and give new candidates every opportunity that they were afforded when they first ran for council. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there others that would like to speak at this time?
Jan Taffel. Dear councillors and mayor, I oppose this bylaw as democracy must be heard. Yes, I agree the election signs are eye pollution, like the photo radar signs existing throughout our community. Each proposed location on restricted sign placements are at intersections. I see no issue to 17th Street, for example, in front of Burnco site. The debate on the landfill issue is not valid when our current blue bins have a high percentage of contamination. For example, at present, plastic film and styrofoam are not permitted, yet the Town of Canmore staff have done no signage, pardon the pun, to educate the public. How about a reuse the signs? Thank you.
Thank you. There are others who would like to speak at this time? Mr. Kendi?
Somewhat against it.
Pardon me?
Somewhat against it, I like it.
Okay, do you mind just taking the mic? Somewhat against.
I like to be as friendly as possible this time, but I think what we are in front of us is politically incorrect from your side. What the people are saying, including me, this is nothing else but forcing others out to be considered by the people. Therefore, this is undemocratic, as two of my friends voted, and during the debate, they said so. In as far as waste, It's not wasted. My good friend, somewhat older gentleman before me who I know for 40 years, explained all this, and I proudly say that I went home from the position in 1995, but I still have the sign just in case I have to take it out. So I urge you to discard that. That's an excuse. If you're talking about environmentally incorrect, you people killed more trees with signages, with the big poles all around. We never had this many signages what we have now. As these are corrugated boards or small plastic bag, so it's got nothing to do with that. The safety is very important. We're putting them, the most important intersection, where everybody's signs already there, with the bus stop, with the light, with the people, with the increased traffic. We're looking for, again, a bylaw with the administration that does not have anything against, because it's more work for them, but you can't enforce it because you're not even enforcing the sandwich bylaw now, which has been in the books for the last 30 years. I was a person who was part and part of that bylaw, and we have more sandwich signs and clothing on the sidewalk than ever before. So let other people run. We need fresh council. We need new blood. Don't make me take up my sign and compete with you people. You were running already 3-4 times for school trustees. It was okay then, it's not okay now, and not everybody sitting in front of the computer. As you people, maybe today when we should have celebrated our brothers and sisters' day when we had only one council, because sitting in front of the computer, you can afford that, maybe, but the people can't, who is working 2 or 3 shifts. They will learn these names as they drive to the work. So consider it, and don't be your own enemy. Let this thing drop. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others who would like to speak at this time? Seeing none, I'll look to the municipal clerk to read into the record the names of those who have provided written submission.
Thank you. We received several written submissions, so I'll read first the names of the people who submitted responses in favor of the bylaw. We have Jerry Auld and Anne-Marie Fafard, Maureen Cormack, Jill Kimpson, Andrea Rankin, Ron Rempel, and Brenda Stanton. And in opposition, we received 2 written submissions, one from Susan Berry and one from Charla Hanna. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any final administrative comments?
Yes, Mr. Fish would like to make some final administrative comments.
Mr. Fish?
There were a number of comments there regarding bylaw enforcement and current signs, particularly A-board or movable signs or sandwich board signs. Actually, this afternoon, we had a meeting with Bylaw Services, so despite the suggestion that we're not friends, we are working together to implement some enforcement in the near future, but we're hoping to communicate with various agencies, specifically the Chamber of Commerce and the BRZ, as a first step, but we are anticipating to significantly increase the enforcement on those signs in the coming weeks.
Thank you. This time then, I will adjourn the public hearing. Thanks for being here.